Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our next live session. I'll be your producer for our session, but before we start, I do have some quick housekeeping. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. While we absolutely encourage engagement in the chat, we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. Keep an eye on that chat. We'll be dropping helpful links and checking for questions for our presenters to answer. Our session is being recorded. It will be available to view on demand right here on the Microsoft Reactor channel. With that, I'll turn it over to our speaker for today. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Thank you so much for joining us for Fabric Data Days. If you are here for the Dataviz contest kickoff, you're in the right place. So thanks so much for being here. We're excited to have you.
Yay, hi from my side as well. Thank you, Shannon, for having me.
Alrighty, so just some quick introductions and then we'll get right into the content because I know everyone is super excited to hear about the contest. My name is Shannon Lindsay. I am a program manager at Microsoft, and I'm based in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So hi from the desert. And I'd love to introduce my partner in crime here, Elena.
Yay! I'm calling all the way on the other side, like from Vienna, Austria. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. If you don't know me, I'm Elena Drakulevska, and I have two passions, Power BI and UX design. So as always, thank you for being here, and I'll try to share, both of these things. So maybe the third thing that I love to do is like sharing knowledge. So I love to combine all these three things in my day job. I started my own company called Moon Story, and since January this year, I'm a Microsoft MVP as well. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Elena. And just a quick plug, Elena blogs about Dataviz on a very regular basis. So if you are not yet following her, please check out her blog. And then, of course, the most important people we have on the stream today are our moderators. This session is live. For those of you that are on the line right now, we have Deepti, Mariano, and Andre here in the chat. They are also all Microsoft Data Platform MVPs. They are super knowledgeable about all things Dataviz. So please ask your questions in the chat and we will make sure to get them answered. And as you all know, you're here for Fabric Data Days. We're excited to kick this off. This is 50 days of live learning, certification prep, vouchers, Dataviz contests, community connection, and more. We're already seeing people in the chat who were here yesterday. So welcome back, and we hope to see you all again at sessions in the future. Very quickly, what are we doing here? We've got some contests and challenges going on as a part of Fabric Data Days. Here you are here to learn about the Dataviz contest for professionals, for everyone working in data or those of you who are trying to work in data. And this contest is really neat because we are creating a Power BI report that's about us. It's about yourself. We're going to get into all of the details, but the contests all end on November 25th. So we have the resume contest, that's today. We have the Dataviz contest for students. We had a kickoff yesterday, and we'll make sure that those links are dropped in the chat if you'd like to view the recording. We're also hosting a notebooks contest. So for those of you who are learning Python or R, you're welcome to join that contest. And then last but not least, we have a brand new contest that we're introducing, and we're calling these Quick Viz challenges. And if you don't have time to participate in a whole contest where you spend 20 hours creating and beautifying a report, you can join the Quick Viz contest. And that is where we're going to build one visualization at a time. All right, so to the larger schedule, what's happening this week? We have already had a few sessions yesterday. We've got 2 sessions today. And then tomorrow, please mark your calendars. Elena and I are both super excited about this. All of our Power BI data visualization world champions from the last 2 contests that we have held are all going to be on the same live stream sharing their tips and tricks for Dataviz. So If you're a
I
Dataviz
can't wait.
aficionado, we're all going to be there. It's going to be super fun, and we're just going to learn. So please join us there. And of course, we know that many people are here because you want to get certified. We're going through this screen quickly, but our moderators will drop these links in the chat. All you need to do is go to the link you see on the screen to request a discount voucher. There are some prerequisites that you'll need to complete, so please keep an eye on that. And happy certification. We're really hoping that everyone just skills up and levels up in their data journey. Okay, so now that we have the housekeeping out of the way, let's do the kickoff. Let's talk about why we're here today, and that is for our Dataviz contest. I would love to know in the chat, how many people have already used some kind of data visualization tool? And maybe that's Power BI, maybe that's Tableau, maybe that's Click. How many people are familiar with Dataviz and are excited to participate in this challenge? And also, if you haven't used it before, go ahead and let us know. We'll provide some resources here at the end. Okay, so what are we talking about today? The first thing we're going to do is I'm going to take you through all things contest. We're going to talk about what the contest is. We are going to go over a sample file that we have for you all to get started. And we're going to talk about exactly how to submit. That will take us through the first half of the contest, or sorry, of the session today, so that you all know what is it that you're getting yourselves into. The second half, we are so fortunate to have Elena here today. She is going to take us through her top tips for data visualization and UI and UX design. For anyone who has seen Elena's work, we are in for quite a treat. And then at the very end, we'll talk about some top tips for success in the contest. And that's what we've got today. So before we get started, just a quick reminder that this session is live. Ask your questions in the chat. We are so excited to try to answer every single question that we can. And again, thank you to our moderators. You are the real MVPs here today. Okay. What is this? What are we getting ourselves into? I'd love to know in the chat, how many people have ever participated in a data contest of any kind? Maybe that's a data viz contest. Maybe that is some kind of a data science contest on Kaggle. How many people are contest aficionados? Let us know, because then we're going to come back to you and ask you some questions. Let's talk today about our contest that we're running right now and why you should join. So as I alluded to earlier, today's contest is where you yourself are building a Power BI report that is all about you. We are building an interactive resume in Power BI that sets you apart from other applicants. Is there anyone on the chat that's currently looking for a job, looking for a new job, looking for a different job? Maybe you're transitioning roles?
Oh my God, I love this CV idea. Even I want to participate.
I cannot wait to see what you make. This is just building. So there's a couple things going on here. Number one, building an interactive resume and CV is going to set you apart from other applicants. Number two, creating a public portfolio that you can actually share with other people is a huge win. Oftentimes in our roles, we only create things with company data that are super private. So this is a way to say, hey, I am a Power BI design expert and this is what I've built. Okay. We also have the chance to win exclusive Power BI and Fabric swag. You'll get bragging rights. You can be featured on the Fabric community. And then we have a new prize for you all this contest, and that is a free hour-long consultation with a Microsoft MVP. So if you win, you get the chance to talk to someone who is at the top of their game about your portfolio, your work, and where you see yourself going in Dataviz. So that's a new prize that we've got for you this contest. Okay, so the next question you might be having is, okay, this sounds cool. How do I participate? Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is to join the Fabric community, and our moderators will drop a link in the chat for how to do that, it's quite simple. You're going to go to our community site and just sign up. From there, you're going to download the sample file if you want and read the contest rules carefully. We have all of those for you on the contest blog post, which I'm going to show you in just a moment. Another thing that's really important for today is to review the judging criteria. The judging criteria changes from one contest to the next, but what's really important for the judging criteria for this contest is that we have 4 areas of interest that the judges are looking at. We're going to go over those when we look at the blog post, but be sure to know, okay, what are they scoring me on? And then, of course, remember, it's a win-win. Yes, you want to cater to what the judges want, and you also are building something that you're going to be able to share, and that's going to help you get that next role. Okay, from there, you're going to start building your report. You are totally allowed to get feedback from your peers. You can post on the community. You can post on LinkedIn. You can post on Reddit to get feedback on your report, and then you're going to submit. The key to submission is on the last date you have to submit. You must submit before 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. So just remember, you have to submit in the community. It may take a minute, so I would recommend that you try to submit a little bit early just to give yourself some wiggle room to make sure you get in under the wire. One quick note when we talk about the submission and Power BI in general, if you are going to be building using Power BI desktop, you do need a PC or a Mac that can run Windows to use Power BI desktop. So hot tip there. If you are not working on a Windows machine, you are able to join this contest by working in the Power BI service, which is on the web. The one caveat there is that you will need some kind of a license to be able to get into there. So if you have questions about that, please let us know. All right, now what are these mysterious dates that you have to get under the wire for? The real important piece of this slide is that November 25th is the submission date, and that is at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. So please make sure you get those submissions in. We really recommend that you try to submit early, particularly if you're new to the Fabric community platform. So that's it. When you submit, all you need to submit is your Power BI desktop file and then a little description about what it is. And we've got a slide that'll show you exactly how to do that. Okay, let's move on and talk about judging criteria. When you submit to this, what are the judges looking for? Okay, we have 4 main categories that we're looking at in this contest. And it's actually really fun to talk about this when we think about what the topic of the report is. And the topic is you. So it's really cool to think about how we can look at these 4 different categories. So when we're looking at insightfulness, we want to know, does your report clearly communicate meaningful insights about you? Is it easy to understand? Is it relevant to the theme? Are we learning about you, your expertise in Dataviz, your education perhaps, how you're trying to get your foot in the door? Okay, second, and this is, Elena's going to touch on all of these, so don't worry if you're wondering what they mean. We've got it coming. But the second thing we're looking at is visual effectiveness. So think clean design. Okay, Elena's going to tell us more about what that means. Appropriate chart choices. Are you picking the right chart? Smart use of text and color. Is the color meaningful? Does it mean something to you? Perhaps you're going to create some kind of personal brand for yourself, and that will be a part of your color choices. And are you sticking to those? Okay, so that is your report, are your visuals effectively telling the story of you? And again, it's super personal. This is all about you. The third thing we're looking for is creativity and innovation. So is there an element of creativity in your report? Okay, if you create a report that looks exactly like a paper resume and is not interactive, are you completing the challenge? Absolutely yes. Great job. You should be really proud of yourself. And if you think outside the box and level up a little bit, create something that's interactive, That's going to set you ahead of other people, and that's going to help you win the contest and perhaps your next job. So again, win-win. Then last but not least, the piece of the puzzle that's the most important to me, and I know it's really important to Elena as well, is are you building for accessibility? Elena has an entire section of her presentation about this, but what we mean here is, can everyone use your report? And that means people who maybe don't see the same as you, people who are using assistive technology to read your report, maybe making sure that the color contrast is high enough so everyone can see it, that people who are using a keyboard to navigate can tab through and go through the visuals in your report in a logical order. Okay, so that is accessibility. So if you look at these 4 sections, these 4 pieces of the judging puzzle, please make sure that you pay attention to each of them. And again, just one quick note, you don't have to memorize this. This is all spelled out for you in the blog post. Just remember what you're trying to go for, telling the story about you. Okay, so now we're going to jump through the sample file that we have for you, how to build, and how to submit. So I am going to switch over and take us through the blog post. So this is the post. A lot of people have been asking in the chat, how do you find the starter file? So here is how. You're going to navigate to the link in the chat, and you are going to jump into this blog post, and this tells you every single thing you need to know about the contest. If you have questions, drop them in the chat in this blog post. We will answer them. Okay, in here, you will scroll down and you will see, here's the mission, design a Power BI report that's insightful and interactive. It's about you. And then we have a sample file that we've provided. One quick note. This sample file, you will see, is a resume about me. This is something that I built a while back, and it is something that I just thought was really fun to showcase my skills. Please take this, make it your own, make it about you, okay? So let's jump into this sample file and show you what it looks like so that you have a better idea of what to expect. Okay, so what are we looking at right now? This is Power BI Desktop. For those of you who have not yet used this tool, it is free to download. We've got a download link in that blog post at the very bottom in the resources. And this tells you everything you need to know about the file itself. So we have the sample file, instructions, and then one quick thing to note, this sample file was actually built without any Excel files, any data files, anything behind it. And the reason I did that is so that when other people open up the file, you can just jump in and swap out the information and you can make it about you. So I'm hoping this will be simple. If it is not, that's okay. Let us know in the comments on the blog post, and we can get some folks together and walk through the file. The one thing that I'd like to point out about the file here is what's in it, like what's in the data. So I put a bunch of different tables in this file. It might be a little above and beyond, so do not feel like your data model needs to look like this. But we are looking at your basic personal info that is public, okay? Make sure we're not putting anything in here you don't want other people to see. Your work history, your education, any volunteering experience you have, skills and certifications, and work skills. So these are the things you would regularly see on a resume. One quick tip I have for everyone is that if you're like, I don't even have a resume ready to start building this, go to your LinkedIn. In LinkedIn, there is a button you can click in your profile where you can automatically download your LinkedIn profile, and it looks just like a resume. So I think that's a really good starting point. Okay, so let me show you what's in this file. This is my interpretation of the project. It does not need to be yours. Okay, I am not the most creative person in the world. I don't have Elena's design skills, but I did try my best. So I'm going to show you what I've built. So what I did here is I just did an About Me page. I live in the desert, so I used a cactus to show you where I am. Okay, and I created a bunch of different buttons that will take you to different pages that will show you different things about myself. So this doesn't look like a traditional resume. I'm okay with that. If you want yours to look more like a traditional resume, you can go ahead and adjust the size of your canvas. You can make whatever changes you want. So in these buttons here, you will see, let's just take you to my work history. You can see here that when I worked as an informatics officer, this is what I did in that role. Another thing that I think is neat on this report that I love is that I listed all of my different skills and my proficiency level. And you'll be able to see how I did this by looking at the data model and seeing what is connected here. So let's just take a quick look. And again, this is just an example. You do not have to use this, okay? But here on this bar chart, I love bar charts. Actually, let's just take a pause. How many people, who has a favorite visualization? And if you do, put it in the chat. I always say bar is best. I love bar charts. Okay, but I digress. Let's jump back into the report and let's just take a look at the data here. So you can see that I am connecting here to my skills table. Okay, and I have the number of years I've practiced the skill. I have a calculation that I've created with my proficiency score, and then a bunch of other information here. So that is how I'm connecting the data in the tables to the visualizations on the page. Now let's look at this data just so that we have an understanding of how this all fits together. Okay, over here on the left-hand side in Power BI Desktop, we have the opportunity to go from the report view to the data view, or the table view rather. And here you can see, let me zoom out so we see what I'm looking at. Let's look at this same table here. This is my skills table. And here are all of my skills, okay? So these are things that I thought were worthy of putting on a resume. And oh, look, here we go, public speaking, okay? So I can say that I still have that skill. Hopefully you all agree. Okay, so that is at a glance what this report looks like. I am going to take it one step further, and I'm actually going to jump into Power Query for those of you who have not seen Power Query before, because I want you to see how I got this data in here. For those of you who are proficient in Power Query, I'm sure there are many of you on the line. Feel free to add tips as I'm talking into the chat, because there may be things that you do that I haven't thought of, and that's great. So let's jump into Power Query here, and I'm just going to show you exactly how I got this data in here. Once I drag it over to the correct screen. Okay, so what are we looking at here? This is a totally different view. It looks sort of like the table view, but not quite. And this is where I entered my data. So we're going to look at this same skills table. And what you can see here is over on the right-hand side of the screen here, there is something called the Query Settings pane. In here, we've got a number of different steps, and you can click through all those different steps and see what we're doing. But the most important piece of the puzzle, if you are choosing to use this sample file as your data model, this is where you want to go, okay? So you're going to click on this source step here. And you can see I put a little note in there, a little love note, okay? Click on the gear to enter your own source data. So let's see what that looks like, okay? So I'm going to click on this gear here. I'm going to zoom out so we can see what we're looking at. And here you have an opportunity to actually type your data into Power Query. Let me pause. This is not a best practice for enterprise scale solutions. This is a great practice for a contest where you're showing your own data. Okay, from here, you will enter your own data, you'll hit OK, and then you'll close and apply this window, and everything will appear as your own information in the front end of the report. Okay, so I am going to bring myself up from this rabbit hole that we've gone down into, okay, and I'm going to jump back into the presentation. But I just wanted to make sure that everyone can see how you can go from this, which is my own report, to adding your own data so that you create your own resume. Okay, I am going to jump back into the presentation here. And I just have 2 more slides, and then we're going to jump over to the best part of the presentation. Okay, so The first thing that we want to make sure that we do is think about your plan of attack, your plan of action. Okay, I would love to know in the chat, and Elena, I'd love to hear from you too, how you do this. How many people actually, when you're building some kind of Dataviz product, how many people actually sketch it out on a piece of paper? Elena, do you do that?
I do that, yeah.
And what is it that you're thinking about when you're doing your sketch?
Ooh, it's, I feel like the first sketching starts when I'm already on this client call and I'm getting ideas and they're talking about what they want or what they need and how they're thinking about their problem and so on. I think I already think in that direction, right? So I already think of ideas, how I can best present this data so they can understand it and like take action based on that. And then my next step would be then like sort of a wireframe or move to Figma. So it's a mix between wireframe and a mockup, I would say, because it kind of helps me get feedback fast. So like I put my sketches on paper quickly in Figma so I can get that initial feedback from my client. And I don't need to, show sketches like this on the camera. So, but yeah, I think it's something that you learn with time, and you learn how to do it faster. And yeah, I think it's important to find the best way that works for you. It doesn't have to be sketches. It can totally be Power BI if that's what you're most comfortable with. But yeah, it's definitely important to start without the data.
Fantastic. Thank you. That is so helpful. So you mentioned that you use Figma or that people can use Power BI. I'm actually seeing in the chat that we have some people that are using MS Paint, an oldie but a goodie. We also have people that are using PowerPoint. So as Elena mentioned, when you're thinking through your ideas, make sure you're thinking about what do you want the layout to be? What do you want to present? And this one is so personal. It is what do you want to share about yourself? What do you want people to know? Do you want people to know that design and Dataviz is your #1 skill? Do you want people to know that you're really good at the back end, that data modeling and DAX is your #1 skill? Think it through, okay? All right, and then the last piece of the puzzle here is to test your interactivity and validate your data. Okay, so we've talked about process here, and now let's talk about how to submit. This is the part that we talked about where it has to be done before Cinderella loses her slipper, okay, before midnight on the 25th. You are going to jump into the Fabric community. That's what we're seeing here. You're going to go to the contests gallery, and all of these instructions are in that blog post, so do not worry. And you're going to hit the button to submit to the contest. From there, we have a submission form, okay? And you're going to need to do a few things here. You're going to need to give your entry a title. You're going to need to give your entry a description. You're going to need to select a category. This is the community Dataviz contest. You'll see that right in the form. And then you're going to need to attach a Power BI desktop file. One quick note, you will also see here that we have this field where you can add a Power BI publish to web URL. If you are already working in Power BI and you have that available to you, go ahead and use it. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. Attach your PBIX, upload that. We will get the publication to the web taken care of for you so that when you then look at your entry in the gallery in Fabric, you will see it looks just like a live published interactive report. Okay, I have one more thing that I wanted to show, and then we're going to jump over to Elena. And that is just quickly like, okay, so we've talked about the starter file or the sample file. We've talked about what's in the blog post, but like maybe that's not enough. Maybe you need some more information to get you started. We are so lucky that this is not an original idea. This is not my original idea. There are many giants who have come before us who have built Power BI resumes step by step. And they have YouTube channels. So we have a few people who have done this. You'll see they have different approaches, different layouts, all sorts of different things you can do. We have a Microsoft MVP, Chris Wagner, who has his video step-by-step here. We have a Microsoft MCT, Microsoft Certified Trainer, Fernan, who also has his resume step-by-step posted. And then we have a Microsoft practitioner, Sean Chandler, who also has his step-by-step instructions posted. So these resources can all be found in that blog post. You'll find them right here at the bottom. Okay, resources, they're right here for you to access. You should have everything that you need. Okay, so now I have talked about kind of the nuts and bolts of the contest. But what I'm really here to learn about is how to do data visualization in Power BI. So I'm going to hand it over to Elena, and I cannot wait to learn her hot tips on Dataviz.
Thank you, Shannon. I mean, you already know so much about Dataviz. But yeah, I have to say, like, before I start with the design part, that I really loved your, like, the desert and the cactus there. I was like, oh my God, that's so cute, because you mentioned you live in the desert.
Thank you.
I always love when you bring yourself in your work, and the CV and the resume. I think it's the great idea. Like, if you don't bring yourself here, I mean, what are we even doing, right? So maybe you can always try to think what best represents you, or how you can, tell your story in your own way. So you don't have to put your desert if you don't live in the desert, but just find something that, that's uniquely you. We all love when we see something that's like, oh, wow, it's like, oh, this is very unique way of telling it. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing those. But so let's move on to the theory part. As Shannon mentioned in the beginning, so I've been a Dataviz judge for the past 2-ish years, I would say, and with Microsoft together with Shannon, like ever since last year, ever since that first Dataviz championship, I was so lucky to be one of the judges. And yeah, it's very exciting to be on this side and see what people come up with. And yeah, every time I'm like, oh my God, I learned something new, right? So it's always interesting to be on this side. But as we've judged so many, reports and challenges so far, we kind of noticed that all of you, or many of you, do this amazing job in doing the analysis, right? So everyone is so focused on the DAX, on the data model, on, like, maybe some great visuals are there, but like the whole impression of the report is not that great, because a lot of people who start with Power BI, maybe design is not their strongest side. So we kind of noticed a pattern, and that's why, like, this part of today's session is here, because we want to help you with that design part, right? So we want to help you shine, and we want to help so when you put a lot of effort in the analysis, you don't want your report or dashboard to get, or not to get a second look, right? So we want to help you with that. And of course, I want to mention here that is not all about the looks, right? So data visualization is about communicating some insights. In this case, it would be, you need to communicate your story, to find a way to tell your story effectively. But when things look better, they kind of help us. They're more visually appealing and so on. But it's definitely, I don't want to say the analysis doesn't matter, right? So the analysis matters, and to make it even better, you need the design part. Okay, I hope I wasn't super boring here, but I had to say that.
No, it's perfect. It's info we need to know.
Yes. Okay. So we said Dataviz is not about only the charts, right? So this part kind of assumes that you're already great in that part. So this is kind of the advanced, the professional side of the championship, right? So it's already assumed that you have a lot of experience with Power BI. So I would say, you probably know how to pick a good chart. Maybe some things that we should mention here is like, be super careful when you're using pie charts. When you have a lot of categories, is a pie chart the best way to represent your data or not? So I would let you think about that. But great visualization, we said, is about clarity, impact, and accessibility. So in this part, I would like to talk about how you can introduce a bit more structure in your reports to make it easier for people to pay attention, to follow the data that you have inside, and to have the eye needs to follow some natural flow, right? So good layout really helps us guide our users. Let me see what I have here. So I have this clear page, and I usually start like this. When I'm trying to sketch things out, I'm trying to divide my screen in equal sizes in this grid, and that helps me kind of organize what's important and where things go. So you want to have, since we're talking about English and Western languages, right? So we read left to right, top to bottom. So you usually want to have that kind of hierarchy inside your layout. So the most important things would go in the top, like the KPIs and stuff like that. And then as we go down, like it would go for less important data. Now, I want to mention here, this is not like something that you need to follow always. So the important thing is you want to have like equal, like good alignment, equal spacing, and so on. And you can mix and match always, right? So you can combine a bunch of these boxes into one bigger box and so on. And it just kind of gives that calm, symmetric layout. And when people see this, they know where to look. Now, the thing is, a CV or a resume is something that is not, like a company dashboard, right? So maybe you can escape that grid, but that doesn't mean that you should stop paying attention to alignment and so on, because you still have text, you will still have some buttons, you will still have some interactivity. So you want to guide the user, to follow your story. So, and I have a great example here. I can see this is blurry on my side. I don't know because it's a bigger screen or not. But Jonathan was, I think, the first winner, right? He was our first world champion. And why do I have his report here? Because it's about the national parks in the US. Like, we all love just the story here. But the thing is, he made it, even though like he had this, structure, he kind of goes out of it, right? So he has this clear layout on both sides, and it's kind of separated, right? So you have this on the left side, you have which I don't know what. Okay, these are different parts of the US, right? And then like to select which season and so on. But if you can notice, they're all very good aligned. So there's like on the left side, on the right side, everything is super aligned. You have equal padding, between those small boxes, and so on. I don't know if I have another animation. But the thing is, it kind of still gives that feeling of alignment, but it's not as boring as a company dashboard, right? But we can all agree that we kind of know where to look here. Also, one other thing that I want to point out, when you look at this report, maybe you no longer view it as, left to right, top to bottom. So you can escape that with things like pictures or having maps and so on. So I just want to point it out here just for you to be careful, because the picture is something that, because when you open this report, probably our eyes would immediately go to the picture first, right? And only then we would go and see the other things. So try to be careful when you're creating your story, like what are the elements that draw the attention, right? So we read left to right, but we can always escape that with using bigger elements, some contrast, some visual images or maps and so on. I just want you to be aware of that. Also, like try to use groupings. So you can see here how he used a bit more white space between the different parts. in order to separate, the story. So you don't really always have to use lines to separate, the different parts of your reports. You can always use spacing, so different. So this is, different Gestalt principles in play here, but we're not overcrowding the report, so we're not using a lot of lines, but elements are still kind of grouped together, and we know that we can pay attention to this first part together, the second part and third part, and so on. And then, of course, we have here on the right side this, which is our recommended part. So this was, I think, like a questionnaire. So you answer when you want to visit, which area, and so on, and it gives you a recommendation for which park to go to. So I thought this was amazing.
I agree. This report I especially loved. It's like really visually appealing, and it's also really super structured. And I feel like sometimes people pick one or the other, but Jonathan like really achieved something great with this report.
Yeah, I cannot agree more. Okay, so one thing that I separately pointed out here, because it's something that a lot of you, or I've noticed that a lot of people don't pay attention to, and that's the padding. Because when you look at the Power BI defaults, like padding is not something that's like inherently there, but you want to give your visuals a bit of room to breathe, right? So if you look at this, so if I give you a moment to look at these two visuals, which one would you say is better, or which one feels better? Let me see if I can even check the chat as well. So the thing is, I would say when you see two things side by side, you know which one feels better, but when you try to create it, you don't always think about it. Yes, right feels less crowded. And and that is only because of that, white space or that padding that we have from the border to the text, and nothing else is changed, right? So we have the exact same chart, but if we look at the right one, it feels a lot better than the first one. So I want you to think about how you can introduce a bit more white space. So one option is, to use the padding. How you can do that is you go to the format pane, and I always search for padding, because like sometimes this option moves around. So just type in padding, and you'll find it. So make sure you have enough padding, top and left. I mean, bottom and right, usually I think even Power BI has a bit more, but yeah, just try to make sure that you have enough padding. And also think about introducing more white space in general. So how you can do that? You can also have like this white space between visuals and so on. Or when you look at a page, right? So you don't want to cram it with too much information. So you want to give your visuals a bit more space to breathe, right? So try to think in ways how you can add more white space. Shannon, yes.
Elena, can I jump in? I have a question for people in the chat, and it's a question for you too. How many people have ever, think back to the first time you ever built a report, or you've seen people's very first ever report in any data visualization tool, and you see 50 different things on one page? How many people have seen that before? I mean, I am guilty for sure. That is what my first report looked like. So these tips that Elena is giving about padding and alignment, they take practice. So that's what we as the community are here to help each other with, give each other feedback. Because although these things may look easy slide by slide being presented by one of the best people in the world at Dataviz, they're not easy.
Definitely not easy. And something that I didn't mention, so I think I put a QR code here. I hope it still works. I have a full blog post on padding. So this is if you want to go a step further, it's like thinking about padding in terms of buttons and so on. So this is like really nerding out on padding, but that's who I am. All right, now that we learn how to create great layouts, have a great alignment and so on, and I'm just gonna mention it briefly one more time. So, don't follow rigid structures, especially when it's like in terms of CV, right? So try to think outside of the box here. Okay, so use color intentionally. So, color is probably one of the first things that we notice. So layout and alignment is one thing, when you notice when you open a report, but colors really are like there, right? Because they can highlight insights, they can guide attention, and they can even evoke emotion. So something that we're not really thinking is the feelings that colors communicate. And we need to think what these colors mean in a different language and so on. But also not all colors go well together. And there's a lot of theory that goes behind, right? So if we use the color wheel, so I promise I'm not going to take too long, just 1 minute to talk about colors, to tell you that there's like, if we put the colors on a color wheel, we have these primary colors, right? We have yellow, blue, and red as the primary colors. And then we have, if you combine yellow and blue, we get green and so on. We get the secondary colors, and then we get tertiary colors and so on. And the thing is, not all these colors go well together, but there are rules, color harmony rules, that help us choose colors that go well together. Why am I telling you this? I'm not telling you this because you need to now all of a sudden become a color expert. There are a lot of tools out there that can help you find colors that go well together. So for example, usually colors that are on the other side of the spectrum, like they form complementary contrast, and that's like, for example, yellow and violet. Those two colors go really well together. But as I said, there are a bunch of tools available online for free where you can just head to and find colors that go well together. So you can, one of my favorite is, I think both of them are my favorites. So these are the one of the or two of the websites that I really spend time on. So one is color.adobe.com and the other one is colors.co. So there are free versions of both, although there are paid versions as well. But here you can, for example, find some color harmonies and find colors that go well together. You can input your hex code and find colors that go well with that one. For example, even on colors.co, you can like search for palettes that are pre-made and so on, or you can even search for a hex code and it gives you all the color palettes where that hex code can be found. So I think both of them are really great. So try to if you don't have your brand colors, if you're out of ideas, I always say like try to head over there and just find a palette that feels better or feels good to you, And since we're talking about colors, I feel like this is like a natural step into accessibility because both of these tools, they have like built-in accessibility themes checkers, stuff like that. So here you can even see at adobe.com, you can see the accessibility tools. So you can even check the colors. I think I have that on the next slides as well. But just briefly, we say here design for accessibility. And I feel like as much as I love that, Microsoft is paying attention to accessibility, I feel like we're still very behind, like thinking in terms of accessibility as non-negotiable, right? I always feel like it's something that's like an afterthought. But I want to tell you that it shouldn't be like that. Because once you learn about these things, once you learn about accessibility, and once you start, it kind of becomes part of you. So it's not something that you need to put extra effort or really think about it, but it can kind of become a natural part of your designing process. And I'm guilty, right? I also, like 5 years ago or more, when I was starting with Power BI, I had no idea about accessibility, right? And probably a lot of you here have never even heard about accessibility.
Yeah.
And I learned about accessibility when I was learning about UX design. And I was like, oh my God, I've never paid attention to this. I had no idea I need to think about it, right? And the thing is, I want you to know that you're not designing for that one person there who lives with some sort of form of disability. But the thing is, something that I want to be your takeaway from this part is that when we are designing with accessibility in mind, we are actually improving the experience for every single person out there. For example, think about using your phone when you're on the beach, or your laptop, right? The sun is shining and you're like, you know what? I'm doing vacation. I'm just gonna work on the beach. And it's not as easy, right? Because the sun is shining so much, you can barely see your screen. And this is where accessibility comes into play. If we design for accessibility, even in those moments, when the sun is shining, if we have good enough contrast, we can see the data that is there. And I had a similar thing. So I even had a client that was in construction, and they're like, we're checking our reports on our mobile phone when we are on a construction site. And it's something that I have never thought about, right? And that's why I want you to know that accessibility is for everyone. So it's about designing inclusive dashboards. So some starter things that you can do when you are creating reports or when you're entering this challenge. So these are the three things I say we really pay attention to in this competition. And the first thing is tab order. So we want to make sure it's a natural reading order, right? So we have left to right, top to bottom. And usually when we create a report and we add things to the page, and when we try to navigate with tab order on our keyboard, it would show something like this. It would jump from here to here, then all over the place. Like just how we added those elements on the page, that's how the keyboard or the tab order is going to work. So try to make sure it's in natural reading order. And you can do that in the selection pane in tab order. You can just order them around. Then we have alternative text. So this is the text that it would be read out by a screen reader when we stop at this visual. So for example, we go around with tab order around the visuals and we stop here and we want to have some alternative text that it would be read out. Why is that? Because by default, the screen readers read like the title and subtitle, but maybe not all of the insights that we have there. So we want everyone to be able to understand what we have presented. Be careful because we have static and dynamic alternative text. What does that mean? So if we do, I think it's in the next, yes. So if we go in format properties alt text, we can see here a box and it says enter a description that will be read by a screen reader on selecting the visual. One thing you should know here, this is static. That means that when the data refreshes, this will stay the same. So try to not put any numbers there that are like, I don't know, the best sales month was July and we had that many sales, because if that can change, it's not something that you want to put in a static text. So that would come in this function, in this dynamic alternative text. So you want to use some advanced text for that. But I would say for this competition, even if you do static, just make sure that you're not putting something there that is about to change when the data changes. And then the third, or I would say something that is the easiest, or I want you to think in that way, is make sure that you have enough or good enough color contrast with your text and your background. So you want to have this readable. We have here a screenshot. So there's a bunch of online tools that can help you just check the color contrast that you have. Color.adobe is one of them. This is the color contrast analyzer. So you want to make sure you have 4.5 to 1. So this is according to the web content accessibility guidelines. You want to have like 4.5 to 1 color contrast ratio. And the thing is, whenever you have colors, and even if you have an accessible palette, try to make sure that you're not only communicating with colors alone. So for example, when it comes, we're all guilty of using red and green for, you know, things that go well and things that go bad, but we don't want to rely on color alone. So we want to add this like small icons that show us, oh, it's going better or it's going worse, or you know, you have different lines, so you want to add different markers and so on. Just make sure that you're not communicating any insight with color alone. Also think about people that want to print out their reports. They still exist. And since this is a very short session and accessibility is a huge topic, I feel like even if I talk for 60 minutes, I wouldn't manage to say everything about accessibility. But I do have an accessibility checklist on my blog. Feel free to go over it, use it before you submit for the competition. It covers everything from alt text to even font sizes. So it goes even further than this, even talking about white space and cognitive disabilities and so on. So make sure you check out the accessibility checklist. And we also have the accessibility checker by Stephanie. This is also amazing. And we can tell you we are checking the reports with that. So make sure you try Steph's accessibility checker as well. So yeah, I will stop here because otherwise I can talk till tomorrow. So maybe back to you, Shannon.
Yeah, thanks so much, Elena. Every single time I hear Elena present on data visualization, I learn something new. And the chat has been like on fire with people giving each other recommendations and agreeing with you and asking questions. So just thank you so much. That was incredible. We have 4 minutes left. We're going to talk about top tips for success, and then we're going to jump through the rest of the schedule for the week. So for our top tips for success, how do you create a winning entry? Think about yourself. How do you want to represent yourself? Resumes are always hard, right? Because it's so hard to sell yourself. But this is a really fun way to do it. We're doing it through visualizations. You are making a message clear about yourself. Okay, now think about all of the design tips that Elena just gave us. We need to keep it simple. We need to make sure our layout is built appropriately, that we are properly making use of white space, that we are building for accessibility. And then, of course, double check your data. Make sure what you're saying about yourself in the report is true. It's a lot easier with a tiny data set like we're going to have for something like this, but just something we always want to do. And then, last but not least, have someone else look at your report. Take a step back and look at your report from 10 feet away. Is it designed in a way that you are telling the story you want to tell using design? Okay, so I'd love to see in the chat how many people think that they are going to participate. I don't need to know who's going to win, but how many people are going to participate? I'd love to know. All right, so what's next in Fabric Data Days? What's happening this week? We have talked a lot about the Data Visualization World Champions. Those folks are going to be live with me tomorrow morning at this same time. We also have sessions for DataViz Design with the World Champs in Spanish and Portuguese. So if you speak those languages and you'd love to hear those, double check the full schedule. And then I think we've got one more slide that is just encouraging us all, participate in the contest. If this contest isn't for you, please check out the Quick Viz contest. Those are one visualization at a time. They are much more simple. And then, drum roll, if you would like to participate in the next Power BI Data Visualization World Championships, Elena and I are ready for you. We want to see what you've got. Okay, this competition is not live yet, but it will go live in January. So you've got some time to brush up on your design skills, to read through Elena's blog post, to make sure that you're using all of the resources at your fingertips to participate in the contest. And then I think we've just got one final slide. We want to say a huge thank you to every single person who has spent an hour with us this morning. I want to say thank you to our producers, to our moderators, to my colleague Pam on the line, to Elena, and again, thanks to all of you. So thanks everyone for joining. We appreciate
Thank you
being
so much.
here, and we will see you over on the community site.